Yo, what's going on, you guys? Catface Kid here, and today I want to have a conversation about some classic pop culture royalty. No, not Prince. He's a musician. And no, not Diana Prince. She's a superhero. No, not Prince Harry, because he's the Duke of Sussex, and while I do think sex is sus, I'm a gamer and I'm just not very knowledgeable on the topic. And no, not Fat Princess, because she is from this ensemble fighting game, and I want to talk about princesses from this ensemble fighting game. Okay, I think you get the point. Nintendo has some of the most iconic fictional princesses in gaming history, and I feel they warrant a dedicated video for conversation just on their badassery. So I want to start with Princess Peach. Actually, you know what? Change of plans. Today we're going to be exclusively discussing the one, the only, the legend herself, Zelda. God damn. For the non-gamers out there, it's pretty easy to confuse this man right here as the Legend of Zelda's namesake character. Link is the face of the franchise, a franchise that just so happens to be named after someone else. And that someone else is this princess right here, and to the uninformed, that's all she is. But I want to take some time today to inform the uninformed and make them the informed. Call me Matt Damon. Alright, hop in my DeLorean with me and we'll travel to the way back. An ancient time that your great-great-great-grandparents refer to as 1986. I turned -10 this year, so my memory on the subject matter is a little fuzzy. I did a little deep diving though, and apparently Clint Eastwood was elected mayor of a small town in California in 1986. That's weird as hell. You learn something new every day. Much more importantly, however, is that 1986 resided as the birth year of what would go on to be a major gaming phenomenon in the Legend of Zelda series.
It's the Legend of Zelda and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get some.
The princess's role in this game is pretty tame in comparison to some of her future appearances, but essentially what happens is that Ganon, the Prince of Darkness, led an attack on her kingdom of Hyrule in search of all three components of the Triforce, which is a sacred golden relic left behind by the golden goddesses of this world. After Ganon acquires one piece of the Triforce, the princess splits up a third of the Triforce known as the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 separate pieces and scatters them throughout the kingdom. Zelda then asks Impa, her most trustworthy nursemaid, to seek out a man courageous enough to destroy Ganon. Impa comes across Link. He's the chosen one, yada yada. It's Link's job to gather the 8 scattered pieces, fight off Ganon, and save Princess Zelda. While this is a fairly traditional rescue the princess formula, it was an early showing of the fact that Zelda was going to be relatively independent and contribute much more to the story than your average damsel-in-distress type character. It was Zelda who had the foresight to scatter the Triforce of Wisdom. It was Zelda who made the order to seek out the hero of the kingdom. Do you see what I'm getting at? She played a large role in the salvation of her people. But with that acting as the cornerstone of her character, let's move on to the next game. One step forward, 2 steps back. Okay, so the next game in the series, Zelda II: The Adventure of Link, doesn't really contribute much to Zelda's whole bad bitch timeline, other than putting Link's name in the title to distinguish her from the dude that everyone thinks is her. In this game, Zelda's brother puts her to sleep, makes her go down for the long nap, imparts Mimi's upon her because he's mad that she hid a third component of the Triforce or something. Honestly, what's important is that Zelda sleeps through the entire second game and requires Link to wake her up and save her, resulting in this game giving her the most traditional saved from the tower princess type trope of the series. A Link to the Past shares a lot of the same formula stirred into the original game, with Zelda calling to Link, and after escaping the antagonist's captivity with him during the prologue of the game, she gently nudges him in the proper direction so that he can go on to be the hero of the story. Again, she plays a more complex and dynamic role than just being a helpless captive for the entire story, but beyond that, she doesn't really revolutionize her archetype in any way. But with a brief history of the first few years of Zelda's life out of the way, I want to now dive into some of the more exciting and inspired swings that Princess Zelda took against the status quo of her typical role in the hero's journey. The first notable paradigm deviation in which Zelda gets some steroids pumped into her story occurs in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Heard of it? It starts out all fine and well, with her game debut occurring within the courtyard of her castle, where she once again explains Link's chosen one calling to him, and warns him that she had a nightmare prophesying a dark cloud appearing over Hyrule alongside Ganon, the leader of the Gerudos. I'll admit, so far her role just falls into the Zelda 1 and A Link to the Past category of important, but still kinda just a princess. And that's fine and dandy. Later on in the game, Link removes the Master Sword from its place in the Temple of Time, and time itself skips ahead 7 years. Zelda's vision came true, as adult Link finds Hyrule in turmoil, ravaged by Ganon exactly as the princess foretold. In order to redeem the kingdom from the evil ruler, Link must free a handful of sages across Hyrule, all of whom will reward Link with one of 6 medallions that, once all collected, allow him to face off against Ganon at Hyrule Castle. Along the way, Link interacts with a mysterious figure known as Sheik, who appears as a male Sheikah warrior, and assists Link along his journey, guiding him towards fulfilling his Chosen One prophecy. After collecting all 6 medallions, Link shares one final interaction with Sheik that results in moments like this.
And the other, who holds the Triforce of Wisdom, ... is the 7th sage, who is destined to be the leader of them all.
Holy crap. Kiop! Now you must fight.
Oh,
Wait. What
yeah.
the
Yeah. Yep.
is...
Yep. Yes.
Wait, did he trade places with... That is Zelda?
Yeah.
Sheik is Zelda?
Yep.
Are you all over both of my...
Nope.
No way!
Yeah.
But Sheik was such an ass kicker. Is Princess Zelda like badass at karate?
Yeah, she kicks ass.
No what?
Yeah.
What we get is one of the truest equivalents to a Luke, I am your father moment in all of gaming. It's moments like these that inspired this video. Learning that Princess Zelda was this mystical, captivating, and exciting new character was such a refreshing twist on the age-old damsel. In multiple instances, Princess Zelda was kinda the one saving Link, or at the very least making necessary contributions to his progression, as opposed to Link doing the saving like he has consistently done up to this point. Okay, so Zelda was Sheik, and that's cool, I guess, but that wasn't even a plot point until the second half of the story, and she only appeared a handful of times. If only there were a game where she showed up as an interesting new character at the very beginning and played a consistently unique role throughout the course of the game. Huh? There is. Stupid. In The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, Zelda appears at the very start of the story in the form of a pirate captain known as Tetra. She appears when a giant Helma rock flies over Link's home village on Outset Island, carrying her in its talons. She's dropped onto the island and Link investigates where she landed, meeting her formally in the process. Immediately following this, the Helma rock grabs and flies away with Link's little sister instead, after which we learn from a Rito postman that the Helma rock has been kidnapping young girls with pointy ears and harvesting their organs. Imprisoning them. Imprisoning them at the freaky, forbidden, forsaken fortress. Tetra, being apathetic to the recent kidnapping of Link's sister, begrudgingly... God, dude. Saying begrudgingly is so hard in this sentence. Tetra, being apathetic to the recent kidnapping of Link's sister, begrudgingly agrees to take him to the fortress anyway. She appears again a couple of times in the form of the pirate captain, always as confident and as sassy as ever, until about halfway through the game when the player and Tetra learn together that she was actually Princess Zelda the entire time. It's definitely a cool little reveal, but it was much more predictable this time around, especially with most players being extra suspicious of a twist like this existing following Ocarina of Time. After discovering that Tetris is Princess Zelda, she's left in hiding to avoid the wrath of Ganon, pretty much until the end of the game, in which she assists you in defeating Ganon with light arrows, very similar to the final battle in Ocarina. Tetra would have already been a really fun and interesting character on her own, but the fact that she's this Hyrule's version of Princess Zelda adds so much depth and intrigue to what was already such an interesting character following Ocarina of Time. By this point, they've developed a great formula by using aliases and secondary narratives to Zelda's storyline that offer accessibility and depth to her character. But maybe you're thinking, man, those versions of Zelda were so cool. The only problem is that they were just a little too alive for me, you know? Too much being alive for my taste. Well, slap my ass and call me Sahasrara, do I have the game for you.
Holy shit, you killed her, dude!
Okay, well, like, she's not technically dead, but in The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, the princess accompanies you throughout your journey as, well, a spirit. Let's just say she wouldn't be able to lie to you because you could just see right through her. In case you were wondering, that was me slapping my knee. But seriously, like, when was the last time Princess Peach was a ghost or a pirate? This doesn't count. I know, the Mario series are different games for a different demographic, and I'm not attacking Peach. I just want to emphasize how interesting and dynamic Princess Zelda is as a character in comparison. She takes so many different forms and works as so many unique plot devices, and deserves recognition as a female character who broke narrative barriers in video game storytelling, and defied traditions and precedents set for her archetype. It's awesome, but don't take my word for it. Take it from Donald Trump.
I love
Princess.
Oh wow, look, we actually agree on something. Unity. I don't know why I did that. But you know what I do know? I know that I love Skyward Sword. But you want to know one of the main reasons why I love Skyward Sword? Say it with me, because Zelda is a bad bitch in it. Exactly. This game doesn't have any big twists or misdirects a la Sheik or Tetra. Zelda's just Zelda the entire time. Well, kinda. But man, is she great. In this game, Zelda's simply a childhood friend of Link's. And rather than being a king, her father's just the headmaster of a knight academy, and their hometown is an island in the sky known as Skyloft. Zelda's story in this game truly begins with her and Link flying through the sky on their pet birds known as Loftwings, when a mysterious black tornado appears and sucks Zelda onto the world's surface below them. The objective of this game for Link becomes searching for Zelda. Not because she's some random damsel in distress, but because she's his best friend. And not because she's being held against her will, but because she is simultaneously strongly fighting through the mysteries of the surface of Hyrule, and he just wants to catch up and help her. Zelda isn't rotting in some dungeon. She's actively uncovering the secrets of what's happening in Hyrule alongside her guardian of time, Impa, and she's playing her own unique role in progressing the narrative of the game. She's discovering insanely cool truths about herself and this game's universe, while Link is simply following steps behind and tracking her down in the process. You could probably make an entirely separate game that's just Zelda's perspective of the events of Skyward Sword, and it would be equally as alluring as the original game. That's honestly what's just so damn special about Zelda. You could seriously create a separate line of games that are just comprised of her perspectives of these stories, and they would all be equally as compelling. While Zelda isn't disguised as a mysterious Sheikah warrior or a sassy pirate captain in Skyward Sword, what we do learn at the end of this game is that the reason she was so important and so involved in the events of the story is because she's actually the reincarnation of the goddess Hylia, a divine entity who chose to be reincarnated into this first incarnation of Zelda. Not only is she actually the mortal reincarnation of a god, but she is the Zelda of all Zeldas. As of today, Skyward Sword is the earliest chronological game in the Zelda timeline, meaning that these events are in some way or another the catalyst for everything that happens in every other game in the franchise. All of that just makes the fact that this Zelda is such a bad bitch 10 times better. Alright, the last game we're going to be discussing is a game that I just so happen to consider one of the greatest of all time. And honestly, very little of that has to do with the Queen Z herself. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece in gaming and a love letter to every kid who ever fantasized about what was waiting for them across that river or what mysteries lay hidden deep inside of the cave in their hometown. It's a triumph in adventure gaming and leaves very little, if anything, to be desired. But you know what else it has?
Bad bitch alert. Bad bitch alert. Bad bitch alert.
Zelda's role in Breath of the Wild is as important and impactful as ever, even though we only ever interact with her through telepathy and memories until the very end of the game. In Breath of the Wild, Link wakes up from a deep sleep to learn that an event referred to as the Great Calamity left the Kingdom of Hyrule in ruin 100 years prior. An evil monster known as Calamity Ganon led an attack and laid waste on Hyrule, killing Zelda's father, the King of Hyrule, in the process. We learn through an encounter with the King's spirit that after Calamity Ganon had brought the kingdom to ruin, Princess Zelda, as one of the few survivors, faced Calamity Ganon alone inside of Hyrule Castle. She has been fighting and containing Calamity Ganon inside the castle for 100 years. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that means she technically needs to be saved from the castle by the Chosen One or whatever, but like, it's fine. We can let that slide given the context. A major side quest of the game requires Link visiting 12 specific locations that are spread throughout the map to experience flashbacks and revisit memories shared with Princess Zelda that give a lot of context to their relationship, as well as her hesitations and the pressure she faces being the Princess of Hyrule leading into the war. These moments really humanize her and offer depth to her character that we've never really seen before. Knowing the stakes of rescuing her alongside the development of her character throughout these flashbacks make finally defeating Calamity Ganon and reuniting with the princess at the end of the game all the sweeter, as well as fuel the insane excitement that I have to share an adventure with her in the sequel to this masterpiece of a game. The point that I'm ultimately trying to make is that Breath of the Wild offers a new layer and level of intimacy to Zelda's character, and is a culmination of how wonderful and dynamic she's been in the past, and I have so much optimism for Zelda and her story moving forward with the franchise. Well, that's the video. I want to thank you all so much for watching and coming along with me as I vent about a character that is very near and dear to my heart. I kind of came into this video with a completely different energy than normal, and I had very little care about the jokes I made or the humor I attempted, so sorry for getting weird, I guess. If you enjoyed this one, please consider leaving a like and subscribing and sticking around for future content. I would really appreciate it. But it looks like we're finally pulling back up into our own time of 2021, so with all that in mind, get the hell out of my car. And try telling the people you see out there about what you learned here today. And maybe, just maybe, we can make the world a happier and more unified place. And if you're watching this video in the future, well, let me know how it goes.